Hey Nico, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, I was trying to figure out how to get
Okay,
the computer together. But yeah, I can hear you.
it's all right. Good to hear you and good to see you.
Good to see you. I like the background there.
Yeah, so this is a little adventure that we're doing here. I don't know if I told you about 2 years ago, almost now, almost 2 years ago, we bought a piece of land here. We're developing it into a nature center. So that is part of the land there.
Nice. Yeah, I saw your video on there. The little background on it. Nice.
The one that yeah, I think I published it about a month ago or maybe 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. How's it going with the land there?
Yes, it's going well. It's going slower than I would like, but um, the idea is to little by little develop it and convert it into something that people can come and visit. Even it would be nice if people could stay over and just spend some time out in nature. We started doing the fence a few months ago. Um, and I was very happy to save a lot of money doing that because I got a lot of quotes from people, different contractors in the area. They were charging up to 25,000, 46 to do a simple fencing, not like concrete or anything, just wood. So we started looking at alternatives and we thought about, okay, when I say we, my dad and I, really, he's been helping me and other friends around. Um, we started collecting wood from people that were throwing away just pallets or wood that they were not using anymore. And that's what we started doing. We started using that wood and with some cabling. That's how we're doing the fence because it doesn't have to be fancy. Fancy. It's just really to fence off the property, mark it off to avoid people coming in just randomly. I mean, really, there's nobody there, so anybody could come in and out if we wouldn't
Oh wow.
you know? But, just to have a little bit more privacy, I guess, especially for start because I just installed 2 water tanks. We don't have water in the lot, but I installed 2 water tanks, and I started bringing some tools and stuff, so just to mark off the property, I think it's good.
Right. No, that's good though. I'm glad it's getting there. That's
Yeah.
good. It's in progress.
Yes.
Nice.
It's, it's a work in progress for sure, and it's funny, there's a lot of people doing projects like that. I mean, it's very encouraging to see in Africa, for example, people that don't have water at all, that have even worse climate conditions that we have, are growing trees like in the desert. There's a
Mhm.
lot of projects of um, converting deserts into forests. There is one in Texas actually that I follow. I think it's called Dusts Ups, and they are actually doing a lot of crazy work there. It's actually one guy with a small group of people. Um, he bought, I think, 300 acres in the most remote part of Texas, and is converting his land into a desert forest. And he's a programmer. He's not even somebody that has experience doing something like that. But that gives me a lot of courage because I follow him and I see all his mess ups and his progress and how he's very resilient and I don't know. I get a lot of ideas from him as well. And in China is has already worked that they uh, reforested thousands of acres of land that were completely desert and now it's full of trees and stuff and without digging wells. Like this is just um, water from the rain that sustains the trees that are growing there. So that makes my project look like a children play.
Right.
So
Awesome. Hey, that's interesting work. Really, wow.
yeah, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, thank you for accepting my invitation to talk to me today. Um,
Right. Yeah. Thanks for having me. For being here, making the time. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be fun. Um, this is something that I always like to do whenever I talk to friends or connect with people online or in even better in person, right?
Mhm.
I like to ask questions, learn about their life experience, learn about how they solve problems, and it always helps me, inspires me, and I just feel that it makes me grow, and I think a lot of people can also benefit from it. That's why I wanted to have you on and share your experience from of life from many different things. You'll be surprised how many people have do not have the knowledge that you have. You may think, "Oh, I'm young, what do I have to give to the world?" But I think there's already a lot of experiences that I'm sure are very interesting to share.
Right. Yeah. Whatever I can share, right? We'll see.
So
Uh,
first, I wanted to talk about um, your college experience. Congratulations on graduating.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
Right? What,
Appreciate it.
2 months ago already, or
Yeah. 2 months ago in August, I finished school finally.
yeah?
Right. Finally finished.
Why don't you present yourself a little bit, your background, what was your degree, where you live, and yeah, just tell me a little bit about yourself so that people can get to know you a little bit.
Right. Yeah, sure. So my name's Nico Gonzales, 24. I'm from Arizona, a town called Gilbert. It's in the area of Phoenix. Um, as I was saying here, I just graduated veterinary school back in August. So I'm working now, getting a little bit of experience. Still so much to learn, but been uh been getting a lot of experience in there, liking my new job. Um, and yeah, that's uh a little bit about me there. Cesar and I go way back to 2020, 4 years ago. Um, Cesar's sister's married to my brother. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
So
it's
kind of like in-laws a little bit.
yes.
The friends, yeah.
In Spanish, they say concuños.
Con cuños, oh yes.
Have you heard that word before?
Yeah, I've heard con cuños. Yeah, I forgot. But
Yeah. So, yes, tell me a little bit about your college experience because first of all, why veterinary school? Like, did you always had an interest in animals and veterinary?
right. Yeah, no, I always had an interest in animals from a young age. As to what kind of career path I wanted to go on, that was kind of up in the air. Like as a little kid, I'd say like, oh, like I want to be like a bull rider or a zookeeper, things like that. But as I got a little older, like it wasn't until like junior high school, I was like 14 years old when I kind of started to get interested in like the medicine aspect of it, the science behind, ensuring that the animals stay healthy. And, even growing up with pets at home and seeing the experience of a lot of other people I know, like with pets that they kind of had that experience thinking that, oh, like it's just a dog, like it doesn't need any like attention or anything like in that sense, like to be kept healthy or like, oh, like going to the vet, like they're just gonna judge me because I've never taken my dog or cat to the vet. Like hearing things like that growing up, it got me interested. Like, oh, like I don't think that's like what vets do. Like maybe I could help change that if that is what the profession is like. But as I got more into the profession in undergrad, Arizona State, and then in veterinary school at University of Arizona, I saw that being a veterinarian, they in the profession, we don't judge, like, no matter if you've never taken your 15-year-old dog to the vet in its whole life, and it's, like, all old and, like, shriveled up, things like that, like, yeah, they don't judge, we don't judge that. And a lot of people also say that it's expensive, but, the vet, just like you, we both want what's best for the patient, for your pet, like, whether we can work with, a bigger budget, if that's what you have to work with, or whether it's something a smaller budget, we're always here to help, like to work with you, work with the owner with whatever we can help with, like, and with no judgment. So that kind of got me into the profession from a young age, wanting to help kind of change that idea that I saw around like the community that I grew up in and my family and everything. And I really like it so far. I don't know, 2 months into to working, but I really like it.
That's great. And you said something, a couple of things that are very interesting. First of all, the whole judgment thing. It didn't even cross my mind that somebody could feel like that. But as you're speaking, because I just had a dog, a German Shepherd. Did you ever meet him, Max?
Yeah, I love dog.
Right. We lost him. I don't know if I told you we lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And time flew by. I mean, he was already almost 14 years old, and all of a sudden he got sick. We learned because of that that German shepherds tend to have heart issues, and he left us super quick. I think he didn't even last 2 weeks. And my dad was taking care of him at the time because when I got married, we moved into a smaller space. We couldn't bring him with us, and my parents have a bigger house, um, so my dad was really taking care of him, and I because I didn't go to the vet with my dad to yeah, to have him checked. It didn't really cross my mind that how he could have felt going to the vet, because it's true, we never took him to the vet. He was a healthy dog. I mean, there was,
Mhm.
apart from his or initial vaccines, we never really took him. I mean, he was just part of the family, always happy, or would always seemed healthy to us. But you mentioned that there are people that feel embarrassed or feel guilty not bringing their pets to the vet. So you have experience or you have heard things like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, people growing up, they're like, "Oh, I can't take him now." Like, one friend I had like a 19-year-old dog, that little Chihuahua that had never been, and he's like, "Yeah, I can't take him to the vet now. Like, he's too old. Like, what are they gonna say? Why don't you bring him in like 5 years ago, 10 years ago when he was 10, when, because now he's 19, or when he was 9 years old." But yeah, just thoughts like that I grew up hearing, like, "Oh, wow," like that got me thinking from, yeah, like a younger age, that wow, like, is that really what it's like? I don't think a vet would be judgmental like that. And so that got me to interested in the profession, that even if it was the case, I could hopefully kind of change that mentality that a lot of people I knew had growing up. But thankfully, as I got more involved, I saw that, yeah, that's really not the case. So
So
that's good.
I'm sure that in your experience so far, like you, even though you're starting off your career, had already met other vets, and you have worked with people that have been in the profession for longer. So you haven't met somebody that comes off as judgmental or or not wanting to help a pet that has never been taken to the vet.
All right. No, nobody that I've worked with. And in my last year of school, my clinical year, I was at a different hospital every month of the year. I'd spend a month at one hospital and move on to the next one. So I interacted with a lot of veterinarians on that year. And now at the clinic where I'm working at, there's 7 of us. And yeah, in that whole time, not one time did it seem like the vet was judging someone for bringing in their pet. Like, even if I had never seen a vet in its whole life and was coming for the first time,
Mhm,
yes, it's true that, like, sometimes if the patient's really sick and it can get a little stressful, like, with, "Oh, like, how are we gonna prioritize what we do if, there's only so much that we can do with working with the owner, with what the owner can do."
mhm,
Um, so there was a little bit of a stress to it sometimes, but never judgment. Yeah, it
mhm.
was interesting to see.
what would you tell somebody that is hesitant about taking their pet to the
Taking
vet?
their pet to the vet. Yeah, um, I would go ahead and just take it, like, there's nothing that they can make you do. A lot of people also would think they like, "Oh, they're gonna make me do this, they're gonna make me do that," and maybe I don't have the money to do this and that, but the vet is just there to offer their recommendations like, "Oh, he's coughing, I recommend we do this, this, and this." Um, whether it's whether the client the owner like, can afford to do the recommendations. The vet is just there offering the best practice recommendations. This is what I'd like to do, but if the owner can't, the client can't, then we work with what they can do, even if it's just trialing like on a little medication to see if it helps. That's something that a vet can always try with the knowledge that it may help,
Mhm.
but without any, diagnostics, it may not. But and even if, someone goes and they're unable to do anything, the vet, can't force someone to do their recommendations, yeah.
You mentioned also that some people avoid going to the vet because of the financial stress that that can cause, which will make sense. But you also mentioned that vets try to help even if there are no financial means. Or could you clarify that a little bit? What would you tell somebody that says, "I don't have the money to take my pet to the vet"?
Right. If they don't have the money to take their pet to the vet, and it's hard because, in human medicine, there's insurance and there is pet insurance, but it's not as like well known as human medicine. Not as many people have it. Some uh businesses do like payment plans as well, some vet practices, but yeah, a lot of them it's just you pay out of pocket, like with what you have. So it can be really tough, but um, the vet is always there to work with the budget. Even if the budget is say like $100 to work with, then the vet can try to work within that and see what we can do. Like if we're not able to do all of the best recommendations that we have, then we can try to work with what we have, like, within that budget.
So, example, if a dog or a cat or any pet is really sick and uh, it really requires a big intervention to improve that quality of life or improve that situation. Perhaps the owner cannot afford a surgery or a major intervention, but they could afford medicine that will help that pet have a better, um, so that pet can have a better quality of life in the remaining of their life. Is that what I'm hearing? Like maybe you recommend,
You
I don't know, some pain medication or some other alternatives that, because we don't know better, people may not be aware of those cheaper alternatives that, yes, will not cure the disease, but perhaps will improve the quality of life of that pet.
Yes, exactly, like, they don't it's not like a go you have to go all in on, like, on everything, like, if your dog has, I don't know, like a big mass or something that you're concerned about. It's not you going to the vet and going all in, spending this money on the surgery. And yeah, that likely would be a recommendation, especially if it's like causing discomfort for the pet. But there's also just options for yeah, maintaining the patient's comfort, how you were mentioning, the medications to if there is any discomfort, manage the pain. It's not always it's like, the vet would never force someone to, "Oh, you have to do this, you have to do this." Always working with the client, with the pet owner, like, "Oh, we can't do this, but we can try this." Like, yeah, a medication of some sort, things like that.
That's good to know. That's good to know. And I hope that this helps anybody that is being apprehensive about taking their pet to the vet. I like how to write. Just take your pet to the vet. That should be a twin.
Right. Right, yeah, put on a little sign.
Right. And yeah, hopefully this will help anybody that is hesitant to just, yeah, and just do it, for the best of the pet, for the best of the owner, for everybody's best interest, I suppose. Um, you mentioned also something that it is true. A lot of people don't know this, that there is pet insurance now. Some companies even offer it for free or for a very low amount. So I will encourage anybody that is watching to look into that. Ask your boss, ask your managers, ask around in your company, or even just consider buying your own pet insurance as well. I believe I've seen some that go as cheap as $5 a month, $10 a month, and if you really are concerned about your pet's health, this might be a good option to have. That might save you a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah, definitely something to consider. Mhm. Um,
Very good. So now I want to talk a little bit about your college years, because this is also a topic that a lot of people are talking about. That there's even some controversy whether college is still relevant. You have a lot of people saying that a college degree is becoming even less and less valuable nowadays, and I think I will agree with that. But in some cases, but of course, there are still a lot of college degrees that are very relevant and actually very necessary. And um, in your case, it seems like your job is very secure for the next 10, 20 years. Am I wrong with that?
yeah, no, definitely a lot of security. There's a lot of demand right now for vets, especially after COVID when people were, locked in with the pandemic. A lot of people adopted pets. There was a big boom in the amount of pet owners in the country that the veterinary profession, like the amount of vets graduating from veterinary school, they couldn't keep up with all the new pet owners in the country. So there's a big demand still right now for vets. Yeah.
So it would be a good career for somebody trying to decide what to do. It could be a good career to consider.
Yeah, definitely. Someone trying to decide what they do, if they like, science. And it's not all just playing with puppies and kittens and stuff. It's a lot of science that you have to learn about in school and apply as a veterinarian as well while you're working. And so they like science, if they like animals too, if they like people, because a lot of times people say, "Oh, I want to be a vet because I don't want to deal with the people." But the people is, a big part. You're dealing with people just as much as you are the animals as a vet. So
Right.
if they like talking with people and
And
yeah.
owners, and you have to
Mhm.
talk to the owners.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so definitely good career to consider if anyone's interested.
mhm.
Recommend it.
Did you have to take student loans? And I don't want to get too personal, and if you don't feel comfortable sharing your financials, it's completely understandable. But I'm thinking about people that are concerned about the financial burden that a career like yours could have. Did you have to take any uh student loans, or you paid everything out of pocket? How was that for you?
Yeah, so for I was fortunate that for undergrad, I didn't have to take out any student loans. My scholarship covered everything for that. But for veterinary school, even with a generous scholarship I got from the school, I still had to take out student loans. So I'll be paying those back for a little bit. Um, right now I'm just living at home though with my family,
Mhm.
not married or anything. So living at home, um, saving on what I would be paying if I was living in an apartment or something like that. So with that lifestyle that I have right now, no big changes from when I was in school, trying to keep the same budget I was living on. I'm trying to have everything paid off within a few years.
Mhm.
So that's the plan right now, but
Mhm.
who knows if anything gets thrown in the mix, right? But
Right.
that's what I have planned right now, but who knows, God's plans may be different. But
Right. Well, no, it's a good plan. I think it's important. Yeah, take advantage as much as possible to pay off your debt. But it sounds like you already have a job. you have it sounds like you have a lot of options when it comes to jobs. If for some reason you were to lose this job, there's a lot of work for vets. So it sounds like it's a good investment. Even if you had to pay for your school, your salary will make up for whatever you had to take out as in a loan. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I was fortunate though that I got into my in-state school because veterinary school is really competitive, and a lot of people that apply, they just look to get in anywhere they can get in. Like they'll apply to 10, 12 schools. I heard of some people that applied to 20 or more schools just hoping to get into one. And oftentimes if you get into an out-of-state school, then the tuition is higher. So
Mm,
that can play a role too. So,
mm,
like, certainly if someone's trying to get in, I'd always prioritize your in-state school for the most affordable option, because going out of state or going to private schools can be expensive. But and it's not that it's uh like a huge amount that you'll never be able to pay off, but it is like a considerable amount more going to one of those out of state or private schools that will be, a longer time paying those loans off than if you were at an in-state school. So also something to consider for people.
How much are we talking about? Do you know, like the difference, the price difference going out of states versus staying in your state?
Mhm. Like I'll say tuition, like the tuition without any scholarships or anything, uh, at U of A, University of Arizona, where I went for the in-state students, I think it's gone up since I started, but when I started, it was 148,000 for the 3 years. It's a 3-year program, so it's a little different from other veterinary schools that are 4 years, because it was 3 years, but it went year round, so no summer breaks off
148,000 for the whole 3 years.
for the whole 3 years.
Yeah.
Per semester, it was, I forget, but however much that was divided by 3,
Right.
something like that, like 40 something.
Okay.
Um,
That's in
but
state.
in-state, yes.
So what would
Out
be a
of
full
state.
state?
Sorry, what was that?
What would be out of state?
Oh, it is. Out of state at University of Arizona was closer to like 180 something thousand,
Okay.
closer to 200 um after these past few years. I think it's gone up,
Mhm.
but yeah, definitely a considerable difference. And other vet schools, I haven't looked into their tuition costs recently, but I think they're comparable to University of Arizona.
Mhm.
I know, or some of those private schools are like at the end of the 4 years, are for 1 year of veterinary school at some of those private schools, it's like $70,000, so times 4, like, almost close to 300,000 for the 4 years
Mhm.
at some of those private universities as well. So also something to consider, yeah, between in-state, out-of-state, private.
And that's a great point because if I'm hearing you right, it doesn't really matter where you graduate from in order to get a job. Like when you went to get your job right now, from what I remember you telling me, they went to look for you, right?
Yeah, certainly. There's so much demand right now that all the clinical, how I was mentioning earlier, those clinical rotations that I did when I was in my last year of school, visiting the different hospitals to kind of see what it's like being a doctor, put what I learned in school into practice. At all those clinics that I went to, they all were offering me jobs up until I found the one I liked and ended up working there. And after that, I told the other clinics that I had a job already lined up. But before that, every clinic, you know, was offering me a job. Clinics were reaching out that I had never talked to before, like, oh, like, are you interested in perhaps applying here? There's a big demand right now for in the veterinary field.
So it doesn't really make sense to go out of state or to a private school to study the same thing that you studied to get the same job that you're getting. Like in my mind, why pay more for the same thing? And of course, if you have the money, sure, go ahead. I'm sure the experience at private schools or the experience of going out of state is not. Yeah, I don't think you can put a price tag to that. But from a financial standpoint, it doesn't really make sense to pay much more for your education when the result is going to be the same. Like you probably did the most uh financially savvy decision in stay in your state, getting a very relevant degree and in a career in a field that is on high demand, right? I think that anybody listening here that is just thinking about going out of state because it's fun or because you want to get away from your house. I mean, every situation is different, of course, but I think it's something worth thinking about. Do you really want to get into a $300,000 debt and get the same opportunities that somebody that gets into a $150,000 debt or even less would get? You know, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, that's definitely something to think about. And for veterinary school, it's a little bit different than like for undergrad because I know for people that are just graduating high school that are looking to start their bachelor's and looking to get that college experience, a lot of them, have that idea of, oh, I want to go out and have a fun time and like with how you were saying, like going out of state, not the most you know, financially wise decision sometimes if it means racking up more debt as opposed to going to your in-state school. For veterinary school, though, it's really competitive and a lot of people kind of how I was saying, they just want to go where they can get in, where they can find a school. Like even at the University of Arizona where I went, the acceptance rate, I think it's gone down since I started, but when I applied, it was 7% acceptance rate. So only like 7 out of 100 applicants would get into the school, and it's gone down. So I think the last time I saw it was down to 6 now. So not too big of a difference, but it's going down.
It's not going up,
And yeah, and
not going up. So it's getting more competitive even.
yeah, more competitive. Yeah, the numbers. Yeah. Uh-huh, and other schools are comparable too to that.
That's so interesting. And yeah, and this applies not just to veterinary school, it applies to all essentially virtually all careers, you know.
Right.
The people again only think about the experience or the name of the school, right? Oh, I want to get into the most prestigious school. And again, I think that's fine if you have the means, sure, go ahead, but make the numbers, I would say, right? Do the numbers. And if they make sense, if what you're going to invest in your education will be paid for by your career and at a certain level of certainty, sure, go ahead. But again, it makes sense to go into perhaps a 4 year college or your local college, get those basic requirements um, there, and then go transfer to a 4 year, 3 year in university and pay as little as you can so that you have more money in your pocket when you start off.
Yeah, definitely, I'd agree with that for sure. And that's kinda how I do. I try to be as frugal as possible, take, like, as little as most affordable as I could do it. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm happy that that is working out for you. I wanted to hear about some of your experiences in your school. I'm curious to know what is it that that you study. Obviously, you study like you said, biology and I'm assuming anatomy of animals and anatomy of living creatures. But what is it? Can you share an experience or a class or yeah, like an experience from your school that has stayed with you until today that that impacted you the most?
It impacted me the most. Um, Honestly, the one that my school experiences from vet school that impacted me the most we're not so much related to the medicine side of it, but to the communication side of it. Because one interesting thing that we had in our professional skills class, they called it, was once a month or so we would go to this building on campus, where they would have simulated client encounters, they called it. They hired actors to come in
Mm.
to pretend to be clients, and we had to pretend to be the vet and talk to them. "Oh, like, I see your horse is here, or here with your horse that's, limping. Like, can you tell me what happened, what you noticed?" Things like that, and the client pretended to be or the actor pretended to be the client, and, so we never knew what was gonna happen. Some days they would be like, "Oh, like, yeah, like, thank you so much, you're the best." Other days it'd be like, "So what are you gonna do with my pet? Like, what can you do?" Like, very kinda, um, like, confrontational in a sense.
Mhm.
But that it was good practice for me because it really helped me when I got out to clinics, getting that practice in talking with the clients, which, like, yeah, I interact with people daily too, just and normally in life, but it got me thinking in a different way, like communicating with someone in that new role as the doctor, like talking with a concerned pet owner. It got me thinking and really helped me in the long run. I definitely still use what I learned in those interactions to this day.
That's so interesting. So essentially, it was like a customer service class.
Yeah, essentially. Uh-huh.
So interesting. And did you see your colleagues or your classmates that it helped them as well, or you felt that everybody already kind of knew what to do, or because if the college is offering this class, is because it's probably a need. I'm assuming that perhaps a lot of people um, do not have those skills naturally.
Right. Yeah, I think definitely for a good amount of my classmates, it helped them and they saw the value in having those practices. But there were some of my classmates that we go into them and they're like, ah, like, why do we gotta do this? Like, they act like people don't know how to talk with people. But those individuals, those classmates of mine, I was like, I think like you might need some practice with talking with people.
Yeah.
But so there were some of my classmates that had that mentality that like we don't need to know this. Everybody knows how to talk to people, but they I think they ran into more issues with when it came to clinics, with interacting with not only the clients, but the staff at the hospitals they'd go to.
Hmm.
Sometimes they wouldn't leave the best impression of the school sometimes.
Hmm.
So definitely would help a good amount of my classmates, some that didn't want to be helped,
Hmm.
didn't get the most out of it, but I definitely enjoyed it. Uh-huh. It's a big need to know how to talk because it's not all animals. You got to talk with the owners too. Mhm.
Yeah. Last time I checked, right, animals don't speak yet.
Right.
So so that makes sense, and it's so interesting. Something that I hadn't even thought about. You really need to have the skill to be able to communicate to the owners that are ultimately taking care of these pets, right? They're the
Mhm.
ones with them 24/7. So that makes a lot of sense. Um, so something that I wanted to talk to you about also, because I want to get your perspective on this, especially as you're coming out of school, you chose seems like a great career, lots of job security, great perspective future. You have the whole world ahead of you. But there are some careers that are not looking great right now. And one of those is podcast hosts or people that are in the entertainment industry. Ironically, right? Because you would think that a lot of people are watching YouTube, podcasts, and a lot of things. But I sent you a video a couple of days ago about this new technology. Were you able to see it?
Yeah, I saw some of the AI podcasts, Google in there.
Yeah. Let me just play a little bit of that new technology from it is Google, yes, from Google. And let me share my screen and see if we can um
Yeah, let's see.
yeah, let's see here. Uh, because I think a lot of people don't know this yet, and to me, it was very interesting. Let me see. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it there. Tech
Okay.
check.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can hear it. Can you hear it?
There's a new hit podcast
I can hear it.
by Sperm. It's called Google Deep Dive. It's taking on everything from the latest in science to classical literature. The only catch, the hosts aren't real, and the producer is you. It's all part of Google's new Notebook LM project. And Deirdre Bosa has more in today's Tech Check. The Morgan, I hope you're intrigued because instead of telling you about this new tool, I'm going to show it to you. Now, earlier in the show, I heard that you guys were talking about that JP Morgan iPhone survey. Here's another version of that in podcast form with two AI generated podcasters. Have a listen.
Get this, we're diving deep into iPhone territory today, but not just any iPhone chit chat.
Right.
We're talking about why people are really shelling out for those new Apple phones. Luckily, we've got some clues to work with. We got this juicy JP Morgan survey.
Yeah.
Over 500 people
Oh,
gave their insights on smartphones and buying decisions.
that's a pretty good sample size, actually.
Yeah, it gives us a good snapshot of what's really going on.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but this blew my mind. This is all AI generated and it's
So, let me see. I think we're back here.
Oh.
Yeah, so I thought that was very cool and very interesting and a little bit scary. I don't know. What were your thoughts when you heard that?
Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting to see. I know AI's come a long way. Like recently, where I don't know if you've seen some of those videos where they get the voice of the singer, whatever singer it is, and they make like a new song,
Mhm.
things like that. And with that podcast, Google Podcast tool now too, like definitely like it's interesting to see and stuff. But yeah, there could be some concerns too, um, especially like with the music.
Yeah, what do you think would be the concerns, or what risks do you think that we can encounter with this?
Right. Yeah, like with the artist taking their voice, that's their voice. It's not for like someone to use and make money on making a whole new song. Um, I've even heard of situations, I don't know if you've heard of them, like where people will like they'll get a call from something and like they'll speak and then someone will distort their voice, record their voice, keep it, and then like use their voice to make some other call to like deceive someone into like, doing something like yeah. I don't know,
Yes.
have you heard of anything about that?
Yes, yes, and in fact, this is one of the applications that I think scares me the most. Because I think of my children, I think of my family, and I think what will happen if somebody calls my wife or my kids once they're a little older, and they pretend to be me, and like it sounds like me, and they say, "Hey, I'm here in the street. Can you come and get me?" And then I don't know, they get kidnapped, or they get something bad really happens to them. Right now it's easy. I've gotten a few scams like that where somebody calls me pretending to be my cousin, and I'm like, um, yeah, I don't know you. I think of my kids, and I think, what will happen? How are they going to be able to distinguish um my voice, or um that it's not me? That it's very scary.
Yeah. Oh, definitely scary. And you who kinda have, like, your podcast type thing that you do, I saw your interview with the priest too, like, what do you think about, like, the podcast feature from Google?
Yeah, no, I think, like most technologies, it's a double-edged sword, because I see a lot of great opportunities with it. The idea behind this tool, from what I understand, that Google is putting out, is to better understand, like to understand content better. To let's Because what you do is you upload a document into this tool, and it will read it, and it will give you a summary. I don't know if did you ever hear of Cliff Notes?
Cliff Notes, yeah, like the summary?
Right. Yeah, so Cliff Notes will give you a summary of a book or whatever, right? So this is like Cliff Notes in like on steroids, because it gives you a summary of whatever document that you upload. It gives you Q and A's from that document, so that you can to make sure that you understand the content, and then it gives you this um, um, audio feature where two people are discussing the book or the document in a podcast format, and it's another way of you understanding content, because I, I know it's true for me. Instead of reading a book or a document, I much rather hear people talking about it and commenting on it and explaining it to me than me actually reading the document, especially if it's a boring document.
You're right.
So I see that there is a lot of use for that. I'm sure like a lot of college students will start using some stuff like this to study for midterms or exams or for whatever. So I see a lot of use for that. I see a lot of potential uses for creating AI podcasts. I'm sure there is already people doing that. I think that's a very interesting avenue that I would like to explore. Um, but I just think that with all technology, it's always a good idea to proceed with caution. You know, it's not because it, just because we can do something doesn't mean that we should do it.
It's true.
I see like a lot of um like the whole driveless cars in Phoenix.
Oh, yeah, and did you see them when you came to visit?
Yes, yes.
Did you ride in one yet or no?
No, I wanted to because so I went to work at a cafe nearby and I downloaded the app. I think it's Waymo, right? Waymo is.
Waymo, yeah.
So I downloaded the app and then I was not close enough to the area where it's going on. So and that's when I realized that it's within a certain area, right?
Mhm.
But it was crazy. I remember just driving in the street with your brother and my sister, and all of a sudden a car parks next to us with no driver inside, and I was like, "What the heck? Who's in that car?"
Right.
And it just takes off by itself. It's very surreal. It's very crazy to see to experience. And you could think, right? That's great, right? I mean, it's probably a cheaper service. Um, but then you're taking away a job, right? There's no driver there, so that's one less driver that could be earning some money. And not only that, but I'm thinking, what will happen? Because eventually, what people are proposing, people developing this technology, what they're proposing is that some of them are proposing to get rid of drivers in the future, that all cars will drive themselves because the rate of accidents is way less in a self-driving car, a fully self-driving car, than a car that is driven by humans. And yes, it makes sense, right? Computers don't drink and drive, don't text and drive, don't get distracted. Humans do. So, but I'm still hesitant because even though it's a good argument, what will happen if somebody hacks the grid and all these cars and starts crashing them into each other or exploding them? I don't know. I mean,
It's true. I never even thought about that. Yeah, hacking into them. What could happen?
imagine like all of a sudden you're in the freeway enjoying your book or your drink and just relaxing in your self-driving car, and then it just starts speeding like crazy and you have no control over that. I think that's crazy. It's
Oh, yeah, that is crazy. Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
because same, always see the self-driving cars. Do they have them in California or no?
Yeah, no, they're thinking about starting in San Francisco, some companies, and they have self-driving robots that bring you food. In LA, they have these little robots that, yeah, go pick up your food and bring it to your house. So, but no self-driving cars like that yet.
No, no. Yeah, like here, like I'll see them and I always think like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like I always peek because sometimes they have drivers if I don't know what the driver's doing, like testing it out or something.
Mm,
But I always peek in to see if like it's one of the ones like someone getting a ride without a driver. And a lot of times, yeah, there's no driver in there because they're the self-driving cars. But
mm.
I always think, oh, like, that's really cool. Like, but I never, sat down like and thought like the future, like where it could head. And, like I'd always just thought, oh, it'd be nice, like hang out in the back seat. But that's true. It's not all it's not without risks, right?
Right.
It's true.
So yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and especially the job market, right? Because again, a self-driving car means one less driver that is earning income, and I think that here's the same scenario. If we're gonna do this, I hope that whoever is in charge of making these decisions, which is that's part of the problem, right? Because there are companies developing this when they have perhaps good intentions or perhaps normal intentions in just making money, right? They just want to grow their company, make more sales. But I hope somebody's thinking about the human repercussions of this. Like, how is it going to affect society? How is it going to affect families? How is it going to affect our way of living? And again, just because we can do something, are we supposed to do it? Uh, and if we do it, are we supposed to do it just in any way, in any form? I think if robots or self-driving cars or whatever technology is going to start replacing humans, I think it should be done gradually in a way that we make sure that humans are not affected as much, or that it really truly benefits humans. Um, Otherwise, it's going to be chaos.
Yep, definitely. Right.
So, um, so I know we have to go soon. How much time we have?
Uh, like 6 o'clock, like 35 minutes. Is that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something else I wanted to talk to you about is because I like philosophy. So I like a lot of the times like thinking about the meaning of things, why things happen, yeah, just different, looking at thinking about things that we normally don't think about, right? Why do I exist instead of not existing, right? Or why is that chair there instead of not being there? Um, so now you have a great career, you have a bright future ahead of you. You're playing your cards well, it seems like. But what is the point of all of this? And I'm not just asking you, but I mean, yes, I am asking you, but in general, I always like to ask people, what is the point of all of this for you? Like, what is the purpose of your life? You've achieved a great goal, which is graduating from college, graduating from veterinary school. What gives you purpose now? Like, what motivates you?
Right. Yeah, no, that's a good question. And, I've thought about that before too. Like for me, faith is, something like the most important part of my life. And like, yeah, I could have like a career, I could, have all the, you know, plans I want, like of being successful and everything. Like, oh, I want this job and I want to, get married to the girl that looks like this and have a big house, things like that. I could get all of that, but at the end of the day, if it could go away in a second, I could break my hands in a car accident and not be able to be do surgery anymore, or I could, yeah, lose my job for whatever reason, lose my house, and I lose everything that if I put, my happiness and like think like my meaning of life comes from, having a job like that or having these big like grandiose plans. Like if they if I put my my life in those like those plans, thinking that that's what gives my life meaning, those all could go in away and it could go away in a second. Like, and if they go away, then what other reason do I have to live for? No,
Hmm.
but for me, growing up in the faith, that's kind of what brought us together, our siblings together, my brother and your sister, the faith.
Hmm.
Um, I know that, I come from God and I'm gonna go back to God. So in the meanwhile, doing God's will, whatever that is. If it's, to have a career, that's good. If for whatever reason I don't get the career, I lose my job, then so be it. Whatever God's plan for me is, and just knowing that everything in my life, whether I like it or whether it's not something that I would have seen for me, just knowing that, you know, God's always there, that's having faith, putting my trust in God, doing His will. That's what gives my life meaning. Yeah, not any career, not any girl, not any house I could want, but like, yeah, because at the end of the day, it could all go away. Right.
That I think that's a great point, and obviously I do agree with you. But just playing devil's advocate here for a little bit,
Yeah, certainly.
how somebody will say will hear this and say, "But why do I have to beg God?" I mean, it's almost seems like limiting, right? Because okay, if I come from God and I go back to God, it's all about God. And then what about me, right? What about my choice? What about my freedom? What about what I want to do? Why do I have to do God's will? Um, what if I don't like God's will? First of all, how do I know God's will? And what if I don't like it? You know, what would you tell somebody like that?
All right. Yeah, and it's hard sometimes, even for, people that grew up always, hearing about God. Even for me growing up, and still sometimes I struggle like, like, really, God, like this for me,
Hmm.
like this is what you like, why am I doing this? Like, and it's hard to know, yeah, and it's hard like when especially when you have like these big plans, everything you want, like thinking of yourself, like thinking of myself, like, oh, like I want to do this, like I want to, like have my, career, things like that, have these big plans. But, in my experience, I can only tell people what I've experienced, my experience. People can, at the end of the day, they have to have their own, experience. But, just for me, I can say that, yeah, like trying to put, God first instead of my plans first, like if it comes between like, oh, going to mass versus like, oh, having to work on a Sunday,
Hmm.
then, that's one of like the more clear examples I can think of like choosing God or choosing, my own plans. Like, and I see that, it's tough sometimes growing up, even like working at the grocery store at Safe. I know they don't have Safeway. They have Vons in California, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Working at Safeway, kind of like Vons here in Arizona. Uh, like even then, not some big job, but even then I struggled. I was like, oh man, like I have church on Tuesday night, like, but I don't want to tell them I can't work. But I see that every time that I've tried like to make the effort to make God the center of my life instead of work, instead of, you know, a party or something, that, everything's come out well. I always, end up, feeling happy. I don't feel the same happiness I feel like it's true. Like, yeah, like the job, I like it and everything. It brings me some happiness, but the happiness I feel from, working from jobs and everything, it doesn't compare like to the happiness I feel when I try to, put God first. And it's hard, to put God first, but it's definitely worth it. And yeah, for someone that, doesn't have that experience of growing up hearing about God, it's hard to kind of see what God wants. So
Hmm.
it's yeah, so it's it hard to convince someone. So I never like try to convince someone, oh, do this for God. I just
Right.
tell someone my experience, what I've experienced, and tell them that, it's something they'll have to experience, to try it, and it's hard, but something worth trying.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a great point because you don't know until you experience it, right? And
Yeah.
I've been hearing, like I was telling you, I like to listen to philosophy podcasts or interviews
Yeah.
with people that talk about theology and just really thinking about the things that we don't normally think about.
Hmm.
And I noticed that there are people that are atheists, obviously, that are, I mean, obviously we know atheists, people that are atheists exist, but um, most atheists will actually say they are agnostics. And for those who do not know, an agnostic or somebody that declares themselves agnostic is essentially saying, I don't know. I'm not going to say that I think God exists or that he doesn't. I just don't know. Right.
Ye-
And and I sympathize with them a lot because many times I feel like that myself. I mean, I grew up in the church like you did, and by church I mean we're Catholics. For those who do not know, we are Roman Catholics, and like you said, going to mass and going to church during the week. And sometimes I also struggle with my faith, but I also realize that the reason why I believe or why I keep going to mass or why I want to do God's will, why I feel fulfilled by my faith or by church is because we have been given a gift. We have faith is really a gift to be able to believe that God, not that just God exists, because you can arrive to that conclusion that God exists on your own. Just you reason and then you arrive to the conclusion, well, nothing can come from nothing, right?
Mhm.
Something comes from something, and there has to have been something that started everything. There has to be some type of higher being or creature or thing that created everything or that started everything.
Yeah.
You can arrive to that conclusion rationally, but still doesn't answer the whole idea of God's will or why do God's why follow God or why go to church. So at the end of the day, it's a gift, that I see some people wish to have. I hear some atheists or agnostic that say that they themselves will acknowledge, um, I wish I believe like you do. I remember, do you know Jorge Ramos?
Jorge Ramos. Was he the news guy?
Mm-hmm.
The reporter?
Yes. Yeah. Very, very popular, famous
Yeah.
uh, news anchor from Univision, Univit. Many years ago, he did an interview. I'm gonna look for it, and I probably going to post a little clip here.
Oh, yeah.
He was, I don't know if who he was interviewing. I think he was Eduardo Verástegui, and he was just questioning him why he was so into his faith. Because for those who do not know, Eduardo Verástegui is also a famous actor who is very Catholic, and um and Jorge was asking him, but like, why do you believe? Like, I wish he told him. He told, I wish I believe like you do. And that moved me because I was like, shoot, sometimes I take my faith for granted. Sometimes I just take it as a given, oh, I go to church. Yes, the Eucharist is true. The Eucharist is real. God exists. God loves me, all of this. And I think you can take it for granted and not think of the immense gift it is to actually believe. And some people, for as much as they want to, for as much as they reason, they don't have that gift. And I don't know, it just fills me with immense gratitude to have that, and to think that it's also not something. It's a very interesting gift if you think about it, because it's not something that you have and you keep it forever. Like you can lose your face, like your faith, like you said. Sometimes you struggle. Sometimes I struggle. Sometimes that faith is stronger. Sometimes that faith it's less. Um, and it's something that we can lose as well. You know,
Mhm.
and I've seen it. I think you probably also seen friends that have lost their faith, that are no longer walking in the church.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I just thought that was very interesting, and yeah, thank you for sharing that with us as well. With when this is my last question with the few minutes that we have left. I mean, we have a few more minutes.
The rest of the time.
Yeah. How is living your faith as a single guy? I'm married. For those who do not know, I have two kids, one on the way. It's almost three. Been married not for too long. It's gonna be 4 years this year. But little by little, I'm forgetting the life of a single guy. Um,
Right.
and just being immersed in my married life. How is it living a single life today, 2024, in Arizona? what are some of the struggles? What are some of the perks of being single, I guess.
Right. Yeah, you know how you said there's some perks, some struggles too. Um, in terms of the perks, the the benefits of single life, time for like independence, I guess. Like if I want to do some like I like hiking, like if I want to go hiking some morning, I'm always free to just do that and without like, oh, like I'm sure like if I had a wife or something, I'd tell her obviously she could come too, or maybe I'd stay home with her. But like just the independence of like, oh, I feel like going on a hike, go do that, or go on a run, or go. I'll tell my family and stuff what I'm up to, just so they know where I'm at. But the independence that comes with being single, that's a benefit that I like. I enjoy, take advantage of. Um, yeah, in terms of like struggles, there's some struggles too. Like Um, yeah, there's always that like one thing I struggled with in the past, not so much anymore, but in the past was always like that feeling of like missing out, like being left out. Like a lot of my friends have gotten married already and they have their families, starting their families. Uh, my older brother got married with your sister. Um, and I seeing all my friends that I've grown up with, getting married. And sometimes that in the past, like, I'd have that, that thought, like, "Dang, like, why am I still single?" But, I see it's better to be patient than to wanna rush into something just for that feeling of, like, "Oh, I wanna be in a relationship," like, instead of, uh, being patient, like, waiting for the right one, better to be patient than to, like, jump in, like, "I wanna get married, I wanna," you know have a girlfriend. And like I've talked with people too, like I've talked with girls, I've had girlfriends, but hasn't worked out and that's okay. But there's always that what I used to struggle with, yeah, that like, oh, I wanna like I feel left out, things like that. But
Mhm.
yeah, right now I'm just being patient, with God's timing. But
Yes. No, it's so funny you mentioned that. I mean, it's not funny, not that I'm making fun of you, but it's so interesting because I don't know if you heard that the way I met with Amanda, for those who do not know, Amanda is my wife, was because I wrote an article called "Why Are We Still Single?" Have I sent
Mhm.
that to you?
You haven't sent it to me. I kind of heard the story a little bit, how, but if you want to share it again.
Yes, and it's funny. You can listen to the podcast version because I uploaded it into the Google tool.
Oh, really?
It created a podcast.
Nice.
So I'll send it to you after this. But it was asking that question. The article was asking why are we still single? Um and it was I wrote it thinking about people that were a little older, perhaps in their 30s and still single, and not for lack of trying. And yeah, but why do you think you're still single? I know you mentioned it a little bit, but um, have you thought about that, or you don't think about that anymore, as you said?
Right. I mean, I think about it. It doesn't like bother me as much as it has in the past. Like, oh, am I single? And it's not, that I haven't dated, that I haven't, talked with women. But I just from a young age, I was always brought up with the idea of not settling
Mm,
on something on someone that. And it's not that, I'm trying to be picky, like, oh, she has to be like this, she has to be like that, has all these traits, but just not settling in the sense that, like, for me, she has to be in the church and, you know, uh, things of the sort, like some non-negotiables that people I've talked with, they've had them, but then as I get to know them, maybe our personalities just are too different and I don't see myself married to them. And the other way around, I've talked with girls that they don't see themselves married to me too. And it's happened both ways. But um yeah, I haven't met someone yet that that I see myself married to. like that.
And I think that's good. Uh, let me tell you something from my experience being now married. So happy that I was picky. Because people would tell me, bro, you're so picky. Like there's this girl, there's this other girl, and um, they're good girls, and I don't know what, and I'm not saying this like to put myself as a popular guy, no, but I'm just saying that
Mhm.
there's always people that tell you. I'm sure you have relatives that tell you, hijo, like mira, fulanita, like so, it's like, and you're like, but she's a great girl, but I just don't feel it, right? And I'm sure it goes the other way too. I'm sure other people say, oh, look at Nico, like, and she's like, but I don't know, whatever, I don't
Mhm.
feel that connection, right? We have all been friend zoned at some point, I'm
Ye
sure, uh, and that's okay. But I'm so happy that that I didn't settle, that there were some basic uh not traits, basic what is the word I'm looking for? Basic values
mhm.
that that my future wife should have, because and I'm so happy that I stuck to those, like you said, being in the church, or at least wanting faith, seriously wanting faith for herself was a major one. Obviously I needed to feel attracted to her, so I need to find her beautiful, and I always knew this in the back of my head. I don't know what she will look like, but I know that I will know when I see her. And
Mm.
that's what happened. Oh, that's what happened. I never met Amanda in my life. We didn't grow up together or anything, but the moment I saw her, I was like, wow, she's so beautiful, And then she met all the other values that I was looking for, and here we are 4 years later, married. So yeah, I think it's a good standard to have, Um, so what would you tell somebody that is in your shoes and perhaps a little bit desperate or restless with the idea of being single, and it's already maybe in his late 20s, early 30s?
30s. Yeah, kinda how I said, how you were saying, just don't settle. Um, the right one for you will come. Um, but also like being proactive too about it. I feel like um I've been a little more proactive like about it and like doing something about, you know, looking for someone the last couple years. But before that I kind of just like hung back, like, oh, like if it'll happen, it'll happen. But no, I would say too, like if you want if you want something, then you have to put a little bit of effort into like be a little proactive. Yeah.
Like, put yourself out there, is that what you
Yeah,
said?
it's like that. Uh-huh.
Yeah, like, so hang out, go out.
That.
Yeah, I think that's important, because many times the risk is, the longer you stay single, especially as a guy, I think this is true, the more comfortable you get, right? I mean, it's so nice, like you said. I mean, if I want to watch a movie tonight, I'm just gonna watch it. I don't have to be answering to anybody. And there is definitely double standards at home when there are girls and guys at home. Do you
Mhm.
agree with that?
Yeah, no, I think so for
There
sure.
there are things you can get away with that your sisters perhaps won't.
Yeah, definitely. Um,
And that, I think that's so interesting. I'm not saying that that's definitely fair, but I know that in my house, like, I have three sisters, and they will tell you I could be out at 1 a.m. and my parents, yeah, they'll send me a text, and but I could come back at that time, and they'll be like, "All right, we're home." And my sisters, they needed to be home at 11 or midnight, the latest, And
mhm.
yeah, I don't know how I will deal with that situation with my own children, but yeah, my point is that you can get very comfortable being single as a guy.
Yeah, that's true.
So putting yourself out there is very important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yourself out there.
Very good, Nico. Well, I know we are almost out of time, and I don't know about you, but the time flew by. It's so quick.
Yeah, no, it flew by. Right. It was my day off today, so I was like, "Oh, this will be a good day, like, sit down and chat."
Perfect. Perfect. Well, I thank you for sitting down with me, and for taking time out of your day off. and for talking to me very candidly and very open about all these things. I think that a lot of people will find it also very interesting.
Yeah, no, thanks for sitting down and chatting with me too. It was a good chat, thought provoking. I hadn't thought about a lot of the stuff too, from meaning of why I live to, the self-driving cars, AI, things like that. Things to think about for sure. Thanks for setting this up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because that's essentially one of the reasons why I want to do this because I want people and myself included to think about life and not just live life aimlessly.
Right.
In conversation like this one, help us all to think about why we do what we do. And just to keep focus on the goal.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
But yeah, thanks for having me. You guys got to come back and visit Arizona soon.
yes, yes, God willing, we want to. Um, we were surprised that it was hot when we went. October usually it's not too hot, from what I understand, or is it?
It can get hot. It was a little hotter than usual that time of year. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta come in the winter time or something, whenever you guys can.
Yes. No, it's true. We want to experience the winter there. How cold does it get?
In Phoenix, not too cold for me, but for people from other states, maybe not cold, but like the coldest, like in the mid 30s,
Mm.
around there.
Yeah, that's pretty chill. Fahrenheit. That's
Fahrenheit, yeah.
pretty chill. Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, New York and New Jersey, where Amanda's from, I think can get to 15, 20. Think. I should check what's the lowest that it gets, but yeah, definitely lower than 35, 30.
Dang.
Yeah. When are you coming back to Cali?
We'll see. Hopefully soon. I
Yeah.
liked it. I like visiting out there, going to the beach and everything.
Yeah. If you come, I'll take you to the little terrenito there so you can go check it out.
Yeah, we'll have to see it. We passed we're the same or close to it, right? When we went to Six Flags, similar area. Yeah.
Right. It's close to Six Flags. It's about 40 minutes from.
40 minutes from Six Flags. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, in that area towards that direction almost. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. No, yeah, we'll have to hang out soon.
All right. All right, Nico. We'll make it happen.
All right.
All right. I'll let you go say hello to the family over there and we'll be in touch.
Thanks. Yeah, say hi to the family and everybody.
Yes.
All right.
When I publish this, probably in a couple months, because I had to, like edit it and then, yeah. But yeah, I'll definitely send you the link.
Got it. Thanks, Cesar.
All right. Thank you, Nico. Have a good one.
Well, you too. Bye.
Bye bye.